Thank you all for joining us this evening. My name is Ashley Bodie. I'm the Fellowships and Experiential Learning Advisor with the Matthews Center. And today we're just going to give an overview of fellowships and experiential learning and how those work together to help you start formalizing a plan for next steps. Galina?
Hi everyone, I'm Galina Merritt, and I'm a Fellowships Advisor with Ashley in the Matthews Center. So I focus more on postgraduate awards, and we'll actually walk through in a few minutes the types of awards that we work with and how you'll know when to chat with Ashley about a program or how when you'll know to chat with me about a program. So we will go over that. So just to start, some of you might already know this, but we just want to ensure that everyone is on the same page when we talk about what a fellowship is. Fellowships are similar to scholarships, and in fact, the terms are often used interchangeably. Scholarships are usually awards that focus more on your pursuit of a degree program, but fellowships can support academic study, but they can also support on other types of meaningful engagement, like experiential learning, research, teaching. So the term fellowship tends to be used a little bit more broadly than scholarships. They're typically short-term programs, lasting from a few months to several years in some cases. And they're often sponsored by research and educational organizations that are looking to make a difference and identify leaders in their respective fields. So that's often why they're looking for the best candidates and the ones who are most likely to make a difference if they are to receive that award. Sometimes they are focused on a specific field, but there are many that range across the disciplines. So that's one thing that you want to look for when you're going through programs to see which ones might be a good fit for you. So what are programs looking for? They're looking for this idea of this commitment to driving change. So how are you someone who, when you identify a problem, you propose a solution? How have you done that? And how do you intend to do that going forward? So that's what we mean by that commitment to driving change. Intellectual ambition. So some of the programs do have like minimum GPA requirements and that kind of thing, but they're not just looking for those people that are excelling in the classroom. When we say intellectual ambition, they want to see people who are pursuing their intellectual interests and pursuits even outside of the classroom. So are you doing a thesis? Are you doing research? What are the ways that you kind of harness your academic interests for the betterment of others? The commitment to learning. They know that when you come to this fellowship program, you're not necessarily going to be, a fully formed individual. And so they really want people that are also interested in pursuing the program so that they'll get something out of it as well. Leadership. This is kind of connected to the commitment to driving change in the sense that how do you help propose solutions when you see problems? How do you bring people along with you to come to consensus in the search for those answers? How do you lead from you are? So this isn't necessarily that you have to be, president of a club and in student government and that kind of thing to be a leader. How do you lead from where you are? This last part, or I'm sorry, the second to last part, investments versus interest. This is something that I've been having conversations with students a lot more lately, because I tend to have students that will come to me and say, I'm really interested in a certain subject. But when I ask, how have you demonstrated that you're committed to this interest? They say, well, I haven't really done anything. It's just something that kind of lives in my head that I know that I care about. So I'm really encouraging more students to turn their interests into investments of time, investments of energy, so that you have something tangible to show that reflects your real commitment to whatever this issue is. So Ashley and I were talking earlier, and I gave the kind of, I want to say facetious example of, we can both say that we like elephants, but have you done a research project on elephants? Have you volunteered at an elephant sanctuary? Have you, written reports on whatever area of interest you have about elephants? That is where something tangible comes into play that can really reflect that you have a sincere commitment, and you have an investment in a particular topic. The last thing that programs are looking for is fit. So they are very intentional, particularly if it's a group type fellowship where you'll be expected to interact with others. They're really interested in fit. And so they're putting together a cohort of individuals that typically come from different backgrounds, different types of education. In the case of some of those that are reflective of multidisciplinary programs, how are they able to bring perspectives through their fellows from many of those disciplines? And so they're looking for people that are a good fit. And you also need to ensure that you have found a program that you're a good fit for, that it's a good fit for your goals, that after you are finished with that program, it will leave you better prepared for whatever it is you want your next steps to be. So really quick, how do I apply? Every fellowship application program is different. So I don't necessarily want to get into all of the specific details about these applications, but we do want to give you a few things that you'll want to keep in mind that you'll need to prepare. Also, one of the things that you'll see here at the top of the right side of the slide is that there are often two application processes. What I mean by this is that for some programs, you may not be able to apply for an award without endorsement or nomination from Davidson College. And so what that means is you have to apply first to Davidson in order to be considered for endorsement or nomination. And then if you are endorsed or nominated, then you can proceed with the official submission process. And we will be there to support you throughout that process. One of the things that I want you to think about is you're starting to explore some of the opportunities that Ashley and I will tell you about. If they are marked on our website with a star indicating that they require endorsement or nomination, you'll want to ensure that you understand that the final deadline that's on that program site is not the only deadline you have to meet. Our campus process deadline is likely much earlier, sometimes up to 2 months or so. So just keep that in mind as you're kind of planning out the puzzle pieces of the programs that you're thinking about applying for, that you might need to jump on that process much earlier than you might expect. The second part that we have here are some of these requirements. Like I said, every application process is going to be different, but these are some things that you'll typically see. So a resume or your CV, sometimes that's like a document that you're uploading. Sometimes they ask you to enter that information into a separate application form. Personal statements, essays, and proposals are usually the most important part of an application. Sometimes the personal statement is open-ended. So you're just writing an essay really about you and your qualifications, your motivations, and your aspirations, and why it's important for you to be a part of this fellowship program so that you can meet those goals that you write about. Sometimes if it's let's say a Fulbright application, you have to write an essay that's a research proposal. Sometimes there are shorter essays where you're telling a little bit more about your backgrounds or you're answering more targeted questions, but you do have to be prepared to write a lot. And with writing, as we all know, comes revising and editing a lot. So that's also really important to keep in mind as you're pursuing some of these programs. Transcripts, that's pretty straightforward. The fourth part that we have on there are some recommendation letters. These are also a very critical piece of your application. It's very important to select references who can write strong recommendations to support your applications. It's most important to identify people who do know you really well and who are also willing to write about you in the context of what that program is looking for. Every program is going to have their own specific selection criteria. And so you'll want to ensure that you select a group of recommenders that can speak to your alignment with those criteria. That's also something that we can help you with as you're starting to pursue an application process. We can talk you through who maybe some good recommender choices might be based on your experiences with them and what the program is looking for as well. The last part that we have here are interviews. Not every fellowship requires interviews, so that's something to keep in mind, but some of them you have a campus interview and an interview if you're selected as one of the nominees or endorsed candidates. So there might be interviews throughout the application process. So you'll want to ensure that you're prepared for those. We do also offer mock interview preparation for those, but do keep in mind that that is something that is often a part of the process. So I listed that big, long list of requirements, and you're probably thinking, well, why would I go through all of that? Why should I apply for one of these? And I have some of this this language up here: the opportunity to focus on and refine your interests, the clarity for your trajectory, expanding and strengthening your network. That's all true. So how often do you get a chance to take pause and really think about, what is it that I really care about? What do I really want to invest my time in? Where would I like to see myself in a few years? And an application process for a fellowship gives you the space to do that in a really intentional way. I hear all the time when I'm walking students through application processes, when they get to usually the personal statement writing process, they start to struggle because they think, I haven't ever actually really thought about how to tie together the things that I care about and where I want to go in my next step and how that's going to lead me to my ultimate goals. So that's one reason why you should consider applying for a fellowship, because it gives you that space. The other thing is it does allow you to expand and strengthen your network. Remember, I mentioned earlier talking about recommendations. So not only does this give you the opportunity to tap into the network that you've already established with mentors, whether it's faculty, staff, supervisors, and your research experiences or your internship experiences, you can reach back to them to talk with them about recommendation letters. But also, a lot of times these programs, even through the application process, connects you to others. So I mentioned an interview process, say, for a fellowship program. If that's an in-person process, a lot of times there are some other candidates there. And if they're in your same field, or if they're, they end up at the same institution as you for graduate school, maybe, those are going to be really great contacts to help you in the future. And that's one way that you applying for a fellowship can help you with strengthening your network. Like I said before, those are all kind of lofty, big things. But I think really the ultimate bonus is that this is great preparation for graduate school applications and interviews. I hear from a lot of people that the essays that they used in their fellowship applications provided the basis for the essays that they might put in their graduate school applications, or that going through a campus interview process for a fellowship gave them the practice and space to be able to talk about themselves, to be able to talk about their goals that they were then able to use in their future graduate school interviews or even employment interviews. Because again, it gives you some space to be able to practice doing that. So how do you choose a fellowship? These are some questions that we have here that we would encourage you to think about when you are deciding which fellowship programs you have interest in, and then ultimately which ones you're going to apply to. And it's about priorities, and it's about finding your fit and picking your path. So how do your interests align with the program? Does the program indicate that they provide leadership training? Here on the slide, we have Lorena James, who's a Schwartzman Scholar. Schwartzman Scholarship is a program made up of scholars from all over the world, and they study in China with the ultimate goal of helping each other understand China more, so that when they go back into the world, they're going to be able to create more ambassadorial connections. They're going to be able to better understand China's role in the world and be an advocate for that. And that's something that really appealed to Lorena. She had studied abroad in China before. She intends to continue doing business in China going forward. And so that is a very clear alignment of interest with that program. Why do you need to study at a particular institution or in a specific country? We were chatting about Fulbright for a few minutes before we started the program this evening. And with Fulbright, you have to pick a specific country to apply to propose graduate study or teaching or a research proposal. But it has to be very clear that you can only do that work in that country. So is there a particular set of archives that's only available at a university in Italy? And so that's why you need to be there to do that. Or is there something about the education system in Taiwan that makes it really important for you to pursue an English teaching assistantship there? You also want to think about what impact your work will have and how you're going to be able to articulate that. Remember when we started chatting, we talked about this idea of the program wants to know that if they invest in you, that you will eventually be a leader in your field in various ways. So you want to be able to articulate that, and you want to be able to determine how that fellowship program will help be the next best step to prepare you for the impact that you would like to have going forward. How will the fellowship help me achieve my goals? Really related to that, but this might be more of if I'm currently here, but I really need more training in a particular area, or I really need to broaden my perspective on multidisciplinary approaches to problem solving, then maybe you want to choose a program that does offer that multidisciplinary community, rather one that's maybe only made up of people in your field. So how do I find them? The best place to start, we'll go here in a few minutes, is davidson.edu/fellowships. This is the main website for all things fellowships. If you get lost looking through some of the resources in Handshake, come back to this website and you'll be able to find your way back to all the overall resources. Schedule a fellowship, scholarships, and experiential learning advising appointment with Ashley or with me. We will, again, in a few minutes, tell you a little bit about the different ways that we work with various programs to help you determine what might be the best path for you. But if you're not sure, send us an email and we'll kind of talk you through which advisor you might want to chat with, or just go ahead and schedule the appointment, and we're more than happy to have discussions and then help connect you with the resources that are most appropriate for where you're at. Check Handshake. You can use the Handshake job search to set up a search for fellowships or other keywords. Check the Matthews Center Weekly Digest on Thursdays. Especially this month, we're sending out a lot of information about fellowships February. But we always have a curated list of fellowship and scholarship opportunities in that weekly digest that Ashley and I each go through and ensure that they're aligned with the interests of Davidson students. Ashley's going to tell you about Catalyst in a few minutes. There are some post-grad fellowships on Catalyst, but we mostly recommend students start there for experiential learning. But again, we will chat with you about that in a second. Faculty advisors, especially if you're looking for a fellowship program that is specific to your field of study, a lot of times your faculty advisors are going to be more tapped into the communications and the networks where that type of information is circulating. So have a chat with them about, these are the things that I'm hoping to accomplish, whether that's as an immediate next step or on down the line, and they'll be able to usually help recommend some programs that might be a good fit for you. And then continue attending workshops and info sessions. We obviously offer info sessions, but you can also check the program websites as well. And a lot of times they're offering information sessions. You know, one thing that a positive thing that has come out of the pandemic is that we're seeing more and more fellowship programs offering Zoom sessions, where before we would only really be able to host an info session with them if they came on our campus. So please take advantage of that opportunity to connect with them through Zoom and virtual appointments. When should I begin preparing? Start early. Start earlier, much earlier than you think. And I think there's kind of, this question is kind of loaded in that you should start preparing, you know, your first year at Davidson in terms of identifying what types of programs are out there, learning about the experiential learning that gets you prepared for post-grad fellowships. But then when you are ready to actually start an application process, Start much earlier than you think, because remember we talked about particularly the written essay components can take a lot of time to put together. There's a lot of revisions. If you're putting together a research proposal, there are a lot of pieces to identify. So always start early. Schedule those appointments again to chat with us about how to walk you through a process. And then Ashley will show you the undergraduate prep plan and explain what that is for. Take a look at that and see what types of steps you might want to be taking and some things that you want to consider. And also she'll tell you about experiential learning and when to start pursuing that, or how to start pursuing those types of experiences to prepare you for then some postgraduate fellowships as well.
As Galena mentioned, you can find the undergraduate prep plan on Handshake under the resources section. It's also linked on our website, davidson.edu/fellowships. The undergrad prep plan is something that I particularly love. It's a great resource. Though it's not prescriptive, it gives you good insight into the steps you should be taking year after year. And so it's a step-by-step resource that outlines the things that you should do each academic year to help you reach your end goal, whatever that may be. Again, with the undergrad prep plan, starting early is imperative. The exploration, getting involved in experiential learning, and then they build upon one another. So as you look at this prep plan and you go from year to year, you will see just how they build onto the next. And it kind of just is a snowball effect that keeps working and growing and building. So definitely take some time and read over that and figure out where you are in the process. It does not matter if you are a junior, let's say, and maybe you skip the first year steps and the sophomore steps. Let's think of creative ways to get you to where you should be as a junior. Again, it's not prescriptive, and so we can alter and tailor so that it works for you and where you currently are. Experiential learning is basically an engaged learning experience in which you learn by doing. So you're getting that hands-on experience and taking what you've learned in the classroom and applying it within the field. There are multiple ways for you to engage in experiential learning. Internships is likely the most familiar. That's a great opportunity for you to really get exposure and try out a career or a field of your interest. There's undergraduate research. Davidson offers a huge variety of undergraduate research experiences and opportunities that you'll be able to see soon on Catalyst, but there are other organizations and institutions that also offer undergraduate research, which will allow you to work alongside a faculty member or conduct your own original research. Study abroad opportunities allow you to immerse yourself or submerge yourself into a different culture and country and really learn what it's like to be a citizen of that particular location. You also can experience education in that particular location. And so study abroad is something to definitely consider if you've not already done so. Community-based learning will allow you to directly connect your academic work to your community. The Center for Civic Engagement offers quite a few community-based learning experiences throughout the summer. And so if that's something of interest, definitely check out the CCE website. And then lastly, special projects. That could be clinical education, it could be volunteering and civic engagement, or it could be campus-based leadership. Those projects will vary depending on who you are and what your interests are and what your ultimate goal is, right? So as Galena said, it's best to see it live, right? And so let's switch over from the slideshow and we'll go through Catalyst to explore that website. And from there, we'll go to our website, davidson.edu/fellowships, to look at the opportunities that are available on our website. Did it switch? So this is Catalyst. Catalyst is a fantastic hub of all things experiential learning. And so those components we talked about, internships, research, study abroad, community-based learning, This is where multiple offices throughout campus are able to source and put their information for you to be able to come and view. You'll also always be able to see deadlines and events. And so for those that may be first years and sophomores, Fulbright UK Summer Institute deadline is there. That's something to consider. So you will never, well, I won't say never, but you always have access to this, and you are able to refer back to see deadlines and special things that are coming up and have soon deadlines that are approaching. So a great way to stay in the know and make sure that you are tapping into opportunities that are available to you. Scrolling down, internship opportunities at Davidson. If you click on that, it will take you and branch out to a few different sites, one of which could be Handshake, where you would be able to set notifications and receive different internships as they are posted, following companies, following keywords. Education Abroad will link you back to Ed Abroad's website. We're actually having a session with the Education Abroad office next Wednesday, the 9th. It's hard to believe it's already going to be the 9th, but it's a Gilman session. And so if you're interested in undergraduate study abroad, that's something to consider. Education Abroad is a wonderful resource. They have built out an amazing website that allows you to look at various programs based off of the season. And so if you're looking for a summer program, you'll be able to see all of the programs that are offered through Davidson, as well as partner organizations. And then their on-campus process is one that you would want to speak with the Ed Abroad advisors to go through to make sure you're covered on campus wise. Undergraduate research. This is one that I do want to click on. With undergraduate research, Davidson, like I said, offers a plethora of research experience opportunities. DRI is one that is the most common and most popular. And then you have undergraduate research here, faculty research, and research facilities. So if you're looking for undergraduate research and potential funding opportunities or sources, then you should click here and you'll be able to see all of the different opportunities that are available to you through Davidson for research. I will say that this is not limited purely to the sciences. And so if you have other interest, you definitely still want to click on this and make sure that you go through and read the different program descriptions and figure out what the deadline dates are so that you can apply for those programs and that funding. There are also external sites such as NFS Research Experience for undergrads. So REUs, if you're looking to do something outside of Davidson, that's a great website to access. And then there are a few other programs that are run outside of Davidson, as I mentioned before. Faculty research. This is where Davidson faculty members will be able to post their funding opportunities and their research projects. And so taking a look at that as well. And then research facilities is the last component on that site. And this just details the different opportunities or locations on campus. Lastly, community-based learning. This is one that's near and dear to my heart, one that I participated in when I was an undergraduate student. And it's taking your academic knowledge and applying it into the community that you are a part of. Like I said, civic engagement has many opportunities. They're currently recruiting for those, and the application period is open. You could do anything from being a nonprofit fellow and working with the local nonprofit to serving as a servant leader intern with Freedom Schools and helping to increase literacy and enjoyment around reading for historically excluded or underrepresented populations and lower socioeconomic students. So if you're interested in doing something such as that, then community-based learning would be where to go. All of these experiences are great resume builders. And so you want to very early on get involved, start doing these things. Don't think like, oh, I'm a first year, I'll just do it next year. If it's available to you, take advantage. Take advantage of what's available. Davidson has so many opportunities that go untapped because students aren't applying for those opportunities. So make sure that you take the time and you do the application and you start now building your resume, and that will help you to get to whatever that end goal is for you. Flipping over to our website. And so this is based off of the Career Center's main website. But again, if you just remember davidson.edu/fellowships, it will take you directly to this site. And our website is broken into 2 different categories. And so Galena has referenced a few times the different programs in which she and I work. I specifically work with undergraduate experiential learning opportunities and awards that are typically for historically excluded populations. And so as you are pursuing your academic career as a first year, sophomore, junior, and you're looking for experiential learning opportunities, in some cases a senior, I will be able to work with you to help you find those opportunities. And then Galena will explain more so the awards that she works with. And so here we link to experiential learning opportunities. We also link back to Catalyst. So if you don't remember, just to Google and search for Davidson Catalyst, you can always get back to it here. And then there are some identity-based resources and opportunities, but just clicking in to go into the experiential learning tab. One thing that I always like to pull out and draw attention to, 84.4% of Davidson grads have had at least one experiential learning opportunity. So an internship or some type of guided research experience. That's huge. That number is a lot higher than other campuses would be able to say. And that's just due to the number of experiences and opportunity that Davidson makes available to you. When thinking about different opportunities, summer experiences. So just quickly, the Charles B. Rangel Summer Institute Enrichment Program is for undergraduate students who want to gain a deeper understanding of current issues and trends and careers in international affairs. That is one that you can apply to your first year through junior year. The Congressional Hispanic Caucus Institute Congressional Internship Program will allow you to intern at a congressional office and develop some leadership skills. CLS, or Critical Language Scholarship, is one that's available to all class years, and it allows you the opportunity to immerse yourself in a culture and learn one of the 15 critical languages. What am I missing? Fulbright UK Summer Institute. That one's application is currently open. It's a great opportunity for first and second year students to visit the UK and experience higher education in the UK. And then external research opportunities. And so you have Ernest F. Holling's Undergraduate Scholarship. If you're interested in research, then that's an awesome opportunity, as is DAAD RISE Germany, which allows US-based students to travel over to Germany to do research in science and engineering, and then serve at National Institute of Standards of Technology, also another research-based opportunity. So fantastic opportunities. You don't want to miss out. Again, these are great stepping stones when you're thinking about the programs that you should be looking into. Definitely consider the fit and how it will benefit you, but also if you know what your end goal is, start to look and see if there are alums or someone that has gone on to be a recipient of the award that you're hoping to apply for, and see what they've been able to do. From that, you can then try and model your trajectory or your path based off of what you've seen them do. That's a good place to figure out how to get started. I'll switch over to grad careers now, Galena.
I was going to point out in this guidance and resource box, there is a link to that undergrad prep plan that's in Handshake too. So the reason why we wanted to go through experiential learning before fellowships and scholarships is because, as Ashley said, those are all of the things that you'll do that'll help better prepare you for some of these post-grad opportunities. Remember that idea of the difference between an interest and an investment. If you do something like Freedom Scholars and you later say you want to propose a research project on education, you can point to the experience that you have with something like Freedom Schools Education Scholars as preparation for that, or a research project that you do through DRI, or if you do a themed study abroad program in sustainability and you later propose to go to graduate school in an environmental science focused program, or propose a research project related to that, you have the things that you can point to that say, this is how I'm invested in that, and this is how I've really prepared myself for this next step. So on the fellowships and scholarships page, we first again just go through defining a fellowship, because you are going to hear the word fellowship thrown around a lot in a lot of different contexts. Just remember that the experience that each fellowship offers might be different. So if you say to yourself, oh, well, I don't want to do a fellowship because I don't want to do teaching abroad. Not all fellowships are necessarily teaching abroad. So make sure you do your due diligence to look into what the program is offering. Then getting into fellowship opportunities. The first link here is this opportunities at a glance chart. And I encourage you to look at that. That is essentially a one-pager that you can see in one spot all of the programs that I'll show you are back on the other fellowships page. But so that way you don't have to go through each of them individually. This gives you a place to just kind of see everything in one place, one spot. Then I have a description of nomination and endorsement. We kind of already talked about this. So remember, some programs do require you to be endorsed or nominated by Davidson College before you're eligible to apply. You can tell which of the awards in these sections, these 4 sections below, require endorsement if there is an asterisk next to it. If you clicked into one of those pages that has an asterisk next to it, you'll see that we describe the application process, the campus process to be considered for endorsement, and that there is also a link. Looks like actually we're going to open up Beinecke. So this takes you to our Beinecke scholarship page. It tells you a little bit about the background, the eligibility, and then there's also this application process section. So this tells you that you must be nominated by Davidson College, a general idea of what that nomination process looks like, and then it'll also link you to our fellowships toolkit article for that program, which will outline all of the information that you need in order to apply for nomination for the Beinecke Scholarship, for example. The awards on the fellowships and scholarships page are arranged into 4 categories. The first category is undergraduate. So I know we've talked a lot about Ashley's focus being on undergraduate programs, and that's right. She's mostly focused though on those undergraduate experiential learning programs, where these awards on this page are in some cases scholarships, so funding that would support your tuition. In the case of Beinecke, it is a scholarship, but it's one that you apply for as a junior that provides funding for graduate school. So those are the nomination aspect is usually what distinguishes the awards that Ashley works with at the undergraduate level versus the ones that I work with. But if you're ever in doubt, again, we're both more than happy to talk you through how we can each help you with that. Second category is graduate study and research in the US. And I'm not going to go through all of these programs, so I'll give you the opportunity to pop on our website and dig through them. But one example here is the Gaither Junior Fellows Program. So this is one that you apply to Davidson to be considered for a nomination. We can nominate 2 to 3 students every year, and it is for a research assistant position at the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace. and one of typically 8 areas that they have identified they are searching for research assistance for. It's a 1-year fellowship. You do work in DC at the Carnegie Endowment, and you're doing things like working with one of their lead scholars at the Carnegie Endowment on issues related to, for example, perhaps the Russian and Eurasia program. That fellow works with a scholar in the Russian and Eurasia program on research, writing memos, communicating with other people in prominent positions, perhaps in the government, perhaps at other think tanks, other academics, and they produce research on the political situation that's going on in Russia and Eurasia, for example. So I did want to point out, because Gaither is a good example, you'll also see the caret. Some of the awards are marked with a little caret. That indicates that international students may be eligible to apply for that program as well. In some cases, programs that are funded by the US government for participation of US citizens limits the eligibility, but if it's something that is marked here, then our international students are welcome to apply as well. The third category that we have here is graduate study research outside of the US. These are honestly typically the programs that most students have heard about before and come to me to ask about. Fulbright is a great example of that. I do want to point out that while Fulbright is in this graduate study research outside of the US category, Fulbright does also offer English teaching positions as well. Those will be outside of the US. People have a lot of times also heard about Marshall, Mitchell, Rhodes. Those are very competitive programs. Those are for graduate study outside of the US. Marshall is in the UK, Mitchell is in Ireland, Rhodes is at Oxford. I think many of you have probably heard of the Rhodes Scholarship, but those are programs, because of their competitive nature, that's where that idea of really being able to articulate how you've invested in the things that you care about, how you're intellectually ambitious, really delving into the criteria that each of those programs is looking for and identifying how you align with that. And then also having a real thoughtful conversation with mentors, advisors, me about how this program will be the best next step for where you eventually want to end up. So why should you be a Marshall Scholar? Why is that the best thing for you to do to help you affect the change that you eventually want to, either in your field of study or in the world in general? The fourth category here are the awards for historically underrepresented populations. They're on this page because they're postgraduate fellowships, but Ashley is the primary advisor for those. Ashley, are there any programs that you want to particularly point out?
You will notice Rangel, Charles B. Rangel. I mentioned the summer enrichment program earlier. This is their postgraduate program, which again focuses on international affairs. And so through this program, students are able, well, recipients and graduates are able to enter into careers with like the US Foreign Service or international affairs, careers surrounding international affairs. So if that's of interest to you, then that would be a program to consider. You also have PD Soros Fellowship for New Americans, which is for immigrants to the country or children of immigrants to the country. So again, these are awards that I would be responsible for helping you navigate the process. But if you ever get confused, Gaylene and I are more than happy to have that conversation.
Yeah. And as it's noted here, we have these in a separate category because of the eligibility requirements that are for them, but all of the programs on this page, all of our students are great candidates for. So ensure that you are looking through all of them to find a good fit for what it is that you want to do. In our guidance and resource box here, we have a link to the Fellowships Toolkit. So Ashley showed you the Fellowships Toolkit article for Beinecke. There is one of those articles for each award that requires Davidson endorsement, but then there are also some that cover general topics. So there's one, once you get into Handshake and you get to the resources section, there's one that offers just general information. So again, defining what a fellowship is, linking you to some of the other resources. Has an FAQ list. So why should I apply? Kind of going through some of the things that we've discussed this evening. The graduate fellowships and scholarships for international students is one that obviously our international students might be interested in. I will be posting by the end of this month an info session about opportunities that might be of interest to our international students. The third link there is the fellowships and scholarships for international graduate study. So that is a resource that we'll also be offering an info session for later this month. But that will go through some of the programs that are already listed on this page, kind of telling you which ones require endorsement, which ones require you to also submit a separate application to your graduate degree program. And it lists a lot of considerations that you'll want to think about as you're pursuing an application process. It has a sample timeline for what to consider, how to proceed through the process. It has some links to some other programs, and it also has some worksheets. So this idea of, if I'm at point A now, but eventually in 5-10 years, I want to end up in a particular place, what are the steps that I need to take to get me there? So this fellowship perhaps, and then maybe another type of program after that. So it gives you the space to be able to work through some of those considerations. So key takeaways. Ashley, you want to take us through our key takeaways?
Yes. So just to reiterate some of the things that we've already, covered, make sure that you do maintain that strong GPA and that you are intellectually ambitious. I would also add being intellectually curious, always seeking to learn. Make sure that you are putting your best foot forward. And as we've said, all of the programs won't necessarily require a minimum GPA or utilize the GPA, but it is important that you're always putting your best foot forward and you are doing the things that are necessary in order for you to be successful, taking advantage of the resources that are available to you so that you are able to maintain that strong GPA. And then again, just being intellectually ambitious and curious. Cultivate relationships with mentors and professors. That's another session that we'll be offering next week, how to navigate relationships with faculty members. Make sure that you are building that network. Put yourself in a position. And so when you need a letter of recommendation, they know who you are. They are familiar with the type of work that you've done, the type of leadership that you bring, regardless of the setting, and that they are able to speak to that. That requires doing things as small as showing up for office hours and asking questions. Start to build those relationships so that when you do need to talk to someone, either to locate an experience or to have someone write a letter of reference, you have those people in your corner. Continue to develop your skills and invest in your interests. That's through curricular, co-curricular, and professional experiences. So be mindful, be diligent, be intentional in your pursuits. If you are, again, using the example of elephants, if you are invested in elephants, then make sure that your pursuits, whether they're in the classroom, in co-curriculars, or in the professional realm, make sure that they do surround elephants. Be open to exploring possibilities. You may think that you want to do one thing and your interest, your investments may lead you in a different direction. Be open to that. Be open to having the conversation and finding out what's out there and what's available. Also, be open to putting yourself out there. It's hard to put yourself out there for someone else to ultimately have a say, in the end result, right? But be open to it. The reward is far beyond and far reaching, whether you're a recipient of one of the awards that you're applying for. So take the time and put yourself out there and be open to those opportunities. And then start early and ask questions. If you are a first year, a sophomore, a junior, it is never too early to start. Go ahead and start booking those appointments and handshake, asking the questions so that you can make sure you have a structured plan and you are set to do whatever it is you hope to accomplish during your time here at Davidson and beyond. Again, davidson.edu/fellowships. We've said it so many times, it's probably ingrained in your brain and your memory at this point. Start scheduling advising appointments. Utilize those fellowship toolkit articles, extremely helpful. Catalyst is full of great experiential learning opportunities. And again, Galen and I are always available via email or through handshake for any questions you may have. Are there any questions currently? Awesome. Well, this was the start of Fellowships February. We have a month full of events, so we hope to see you at future events. Our first being, our second being next Wednesday, where we focus on Gilman, which is an undergraduate study program. And then we will have, like I said, I think earlier, the navigating connections with faculty and figuring out how to make those to build those relationships and nurture them and develop them. So join us next week and the following weeks to learn more about fellowships and skills and techniques that will help you to navigate this fellowships journey. Galena?
Thank you, everyone. We can stay on for a few minutes if anyone has questions.